Alrighty folks, welcome in everybody. Good morning, good morning. My name is Voodoo Val and I am going to be your host this morning for the Photoshop Daily Creative Challenge. I hope you folks are all excited to kind of jump into some design awesomeness this morning. I know I am. Quick housekeeping points before we begin today. However, if you are over on the YouTube channel this morning, please come over to behance.net/live because that is where I am going to be reading the chat. It's where you can get all of the helpful resources and everything you need to start the challenge, and it's also an excellent place to make some new friends. So please come over to Behance. I'm going to kind of walk you through where you can find all of the resources. I'm going to post some links and show off some pages real quick to let you know about the challenge as well as the Create Waves contest, and then we are going to jump into it. I see so many familiar faces in chat. General Kenobi, hello there. We would be honored if you would join us. Yes. Jennifer Cowell, hello. Jennifer Poole, good to see you. Fabio, Z, Sam, Frank, Ted, it's good to see you. Stony, Kingsley, RB, Frank, Marsha, welcome in, welcome in, welcome in. Socks in chat for Val, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. I love socks. They're my favorite kind of Christmas present ever. All right, so let me pop over here to the challenge page and show you folks how to get involved. So this is behance.net/challenge/Photoshop. This is where you can get all the information you need for any of our challenges. All you have to do is scroll down here and you can see that every day one of our challenges is unlocked at about 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Today we're doing pixel art and it's going to be fabulous, and not just pixel art, but the first thing we're going to do, the most notable thing we're going to do is pixel art, and then I'm going to show you how to get extra fancy with some filters and make some cool stuff. So we're going to jump into that. If you would like to check out the Create Waves campaign, because all of our DCCs are ocean themed this round, because we are kind of partnered, Adobe is partnered with the Ocean Agency for a project during the decade of ocean conservation. And you can learn more about that here. There is a page on the Ocean Agency website about the hashtag Create Waves campaign. There is also an Adobe, here we go, let me put that in there. There's also an Adobe article, Create Change, Create Waves, where you can show up and learn more about the actual art contest that is attached to this project. And on both of those pages, there is also a link where you can download the starter files and resources and digital toolkit, basically, if you would like some assets and things to use in your art project while you are working on this contest. So please check those out. They are super, super helpful. They're very awesome. And it just gives you a lot of different kinds of textures, images, illustrations, all sorts of things that you can use to kind of dive into this art challenge without feeling overwhelmed and like you have no place to begin. Okay. So I am going to hide this because we are going to pull up the Discord. The last thing I want to show you is the Discord. If you head over to bit.ly/PS Discord, make sure that P and that S are capitalized. You will come to this nifty page right here. And this is where you can post your challenge entries. So if you finish something and you want to post it and share it, you totally can. I would love to see it. Some of these are so amazing. We created brushes yesterday that looks like schools of fish when painted with. And this is excellent, Susan. This is really, really good. I'm loving it. I'm loving all of these things that everybody's posting. There's one specifically that I did really want to highlight real quick. Number one, this Karjov thing, we messed with gradients and liquify yesterday, and that seriously looks like real water. And then Satlin, this looks like an image. Like, honestly, when this was smaller, unless I look close, I don't know that this is something you made with brushes. This really looks like you created, or like you took a photo of like a swarm of a pod of sharks. So very well done. I love it. You guys are doing excellent work in here. I love it, love it, love it. Okay, let me, oh. Am I not? Is something, can you guys see me? Oh, disregard. Okay, okay, yeah. On your end, okay. I was very confused. I was like, I have been jumping into this whole stream this whole time, and I saw a little, I saw that message, and I was like, have I been talking to the ether this whole time? Oh no. Okay, cool. All right, so we're gonna jump into Photoshop real quick. All right, folks. You can see me. Okay, thank you for the eye emojis. Eye emojis if you can see me. Thank you. I can see you. I can. Okay, thank you. All right, so this is your starter file for challenge number 7. It says create an illustrative ocean creature by turning an image into pixel art with photo filters. And I'm so pumped because this is we're gonna get pretty interesting today. We're gonna dive into some filters that I think that normally people would maybe not use because they're considered to be maybe a little bit lame. You know, when people post pictures and you can very clearly tell that they have a filter on them, and it doesn't look very original. We're going to try to use filters today and create things that are a little more original, and I'm very excited to show you how we do that. I'm going to go ahead and hide the graphics for the starter file, and what I'm going to do is a couple things here. I'm going to open my CC libraries and navigate to my Ocean DCC, and come in here. Oh, actually, you know what? I'm going to navigate actually to the Create Waves. This is the official toolkit. So you folks can come in here and grab any images you want. Maybe we will grab something like, because I also want to use one of these images here for this. Maybe we will grab, I'm thinking this spotted ray. I'm gonna grab that spotted ray. Boom. And then I'm also going to grab some freebies that I have for you folks. Let me grab this, the reef manta and the clownfish that I made, because we're going to use these as well. If you want to use these manta rays and the reef fish that I created for you, all you have to do is go into the Discord. You can click that pinned messages button up here, and you can see all of these are here. Feel free to click on them. You can say open original, and it will open it in a web browser, and you can download it. These are free for you to use. These are my own original illustrations, and they are yours to use for these projects and beyond if you so choose. So we're gonna turn these into pixel art pieces, and then we're gonna get even fancier with it. So the first thing I want to highlight real quick is a quick and easy way to cut something out of an image, because some of you may be going this route. So I'm just going to grab my object selection tool. If you don't see your object selection tool when you press W on your keyboard, you may have to come over here and right click it, because it may be stuck behind the magic wand tool or the quick selection tool. And I am just going to drag out a rectangle around here, and it does actually snag this really, really easily. And then I can just hit Control J or Command J if you are using a Mac. And I'm going to hide this just so that I have this nice little ray, okay? And I'm going to call this Spotted Ray. Boom. Now the first thing I'm going to do is I'm gonna actually show you how I used to create pixel art before I realized that there are excellent filters for this in Photoshop. So a while ago, because I love to do pixel art, sometimes like to experiment with that sort of thing, I figured out kind of a workaround for how to create things like that. And it's actually really easy, and I don't know if you're really supposed to be able to do this in Photoshop, but I wanted to show it just for the heck of it because it's kind of funny. So if I go to, hold on, let me make sure that this is showing for you folks. If I go into my image size, I've hit Control-Alt-In or Control-Alt-I to access it, or Command-Option-I if you're on a Mac. You can come in to see the image size that we're working with, okay? And now whenever you resize an image, you can have Photoshop resample automatically. But if you actually mess with this option, and a lot of you probably have never messed with this option at all, it's probably going to be a little interesting today. Let me see. Yeah, The music is actually under 10 out of 100, so I'm surprised that you can hear it, Murray. I apologize for it being super loud to you. I can crank it down just a little bit, but it is barely audible, even for me, and it's playing into my ears. All right, so I am actually going to change this to like 200 pixels, okay? And I am going to change this automatic to nearest neighbor hard edges, okay? And I'm gonna say, okay. And what this has done is changed my image to be very, very small, teeny, teeny, tiny. And now if I hit Control-Alt-I again, or Command-Option-I again, I can do the same thing. I'm just gonna crank it back up to 2000. And check this out. If I hit OK, because it resamples to hard edges, it should be, oh, you know what? It's a smart object. I need to rasterize this first before this works. One moment. Let's do this one more time. Okay. It's still set to nearest neighbor hard edges. I'm going to remove a 0 from here to bump it down to 200. And that should make it super small, yes, okay. And then now if I bump it back up, because it's resampling hard edges there, it should actually come back large in pixel art form, which is kind of funny. So it's a weird workaround, but if you want to try that out, it's just like a funny little workaround. But we're actually going to jump into creating legitimate pixel art where you can actually choose the size of each square cell and all that to really get into the style of your work. Okay. So I've kind of Control-Z or Command-Z if you're using Mac to kind of get my image quality back here. And I am going to bump this up to the top because we're going to specifically just work with the clownfish for right now. I'm going to select these and group them together. So how do we make this into pixel art? Well, first of all, I'm going to duplicate this clownfish so that I'm not messing with my original file with Command or Control-J. I will hide this one that's underneath here, and I'm going to come up to Filter, and I'm going to go to Pixelate. Now, that might seem a little bit obvious, but when you come in here, you'll notice that there are like 7 different things that you can choose from here. And we are going to first just kind of test them all out one at a time, and you'll see when we get to our pixel art setting. So Pointillize. Pointillize is really fun because, as you can see, let me pull this down here. Pointillize allows us to kind of dissolve our image into all of these points that have a little bit of dark space in between them, but it gives us a really nice combination of colors. So it's kind of like, you know, not quite pixel art, but it still kind of gives a really interesting texture to this, and you can actually change the cell size. So if you'd like to get even larger here and really go wild with how you stylize your piece, you can kind of crank this up if you like. I actually really like it. It's one of my favorite ones, and I'm gonna hit OK, and we're just gonna have this one. I'm gonna call this Pointillize. Okay. And this is, you might be wondering to yourself, like, why is it important to come through and do all these things? Well, if you find yourself in a situation where you're trying to create a scene, like we may or may not be doing later on this week, you might find that you're grabbing ocean creatures and images of ocean creatures from several different sources. And if you would like to make them look all cohesive, editing them with these filters to kind of give them all the same mood or vibe is going to be really helpful to kind of increase the value of your composition. So we've got Pointillize. Let's grab another one. Let's turn this on. And let's come to Filter, and let's go to Mosaic. Now, Mosaic is going to be your pixel art filter for sure. So I can crank this up, and as you can see, it really gets these perfect cells set to squares, and it really starts making it look like legitimate pixel art. And you can crank these down. I like to crank it down just until I can see that little dot for the eye, because I feel like that's when it starts to really give me a good amount of detail. And I'm gonna hit OK, and we're gonna call this, I believe that was Mosaic. So we're gonna call this Mosaic. What are we doing on time? Okay, we're doing good. We're gonna do a few of these. Did I spell Mosaic right? Yes. We're going to do a few of these, and then I'm going to show you how to clean it up around the edges to actually use this, because you'll notice as we get through these, sometimes when I put these filters on, you can see a little bit of a blur around the edges, which doesn't really look that great if you're trying to make something very clean. So let's do a few more experiments, and then we will clean it up. So let's grab like let's grab another clownfish, and let's come up here to pixelate, and am I gonna do mezzotint? Mezzotint it's more of like a dot, you know, more dots. You can actually go in and change it to fine dots, medium dots, lines, whatever you want. I'm not really a fan of this one, so I've shown it to you, but let's move on. Let's come in to pixelate again. Fragment is kind of one that I don't really use that much. This is what you'll get from Fragment, and you can kind of crank it up or crank it down. You can come in and double click this icon here next to the Fragment Smart Filter, and you can turn it up or down on the slider here if you like, but not my favorite, so I'm going to Control Z and move on from that one as well. But I'd just like to show you all the different ones that you can do. Facet is, again, one of the ones that I don't typically use for this particular project. It doesn't really give me a lot of detail, so I'm going to go ahead and move on from that one. And this one, I believe Crystallize is one of my favorites. So Crystallize does more of an organic kind of pixelation to your piece. As you can see, we can crank the cell size up, and it's almost similar to the Mosaic, or to the Pointillize, except that it has bigger chunks here, and there's no dark space in between all of the chunks of color that it sort of starts to put in there, which is really cool. So if I do the Pointillize, you can see they're very, very similar, but if you don't like all this black space between the chunks of color, you can do this one, and I actually think it adds a really, really nice combination of colors right next to each other, which is pretty cute. It also keeps the edges really smooth, in my opinion. So let's hide that one, and let's do one more, shall we? Let me unhide this. Oh, let's call this, I wanted to call this Crystallize, just so that we have this. Crystallize, I hope I spelled that right. There's 2 L's in Crystallize. You folks know how I am with spelling. I think there's 2 L's in crystal. Nope, I'm just gonna, you know what? We're gonna call it Crystal because I know how to spell crystal. I will worry about spelling later. So let's grab this one, and we're going to do the last one on here, which is color halftone. And color halftone is fun. So you can do a max radius, you can change your max radius, you can change your screen angles here in the channels. I'm just gonna leave it as is so you can see what the default is once you do this. And if I do that, you can see it actually just gives us a nice like comic book halftone kind of vibe to this, which is cool. So you can choose any one of these that you like. And you can start to take images and start to make them look cohesive once you cut them out so that you can arrange them in a scene together. So spelling is Google's job. I agree. Val is always yelling, even at her layers. I'm always screaming at my layers. That is just my natural state. So now that we have all of these, I'll show you how I like to kind of clean some of these up, especially our Pointillize here, or not our Pointillize, our Mosaic here, because it's fuzzy around the edges, and that's not exactly what I want. I always take the original image and put it right underneath. Let me group all these and get them out of my way. And I like to place that filter over on a clipping mask, which allows me to kind of have it extend to the soft, smooth borders of my piece here without ruining the art. And then I can even Control T or Command T if you are working on a Mac and kind of shrink this down from all sides. I'm holding Alt or Option to kind of shrink in from the sides just to make sure that I really get a nice cut around the edges here. And so I've created a little pixel clownfish, and I can hold, I can select all of these and I can convert to smart object, and then I have a little pixel art friend here. Now I'm gonna do this to one more of my pieces because I want to start kind of creating a set for myself. And this is what I really want you folks to focus on, is find some images and create a set of creatures, because going forward in this challenge, you're gonna need a set. You're gonna need a set of a bunch of different sea creatures that kind of look the same, because we're kind of gearing up to put it together in a scene that you may or may not have the opportunity to animate, and you're going to want a lot of stuff, so we're kind of preparing ahead of time here. So I'm going to do the same thing with my reef manta. I'm going to come in, duplicate my reef manta. I'm going to go to Filter, Pixelate, and Mosaic. Boom. And I'm going to leave, let's see, I made that a little smaller, so I'm going to kind of bump my cells in. Maybe we'll set it to 35 specifically, to kind of give me some more room there. I will right click and say create clipping mask. And then I'm gonna grab this reef manta shape underneath, and I'm gonna hold Alt or Option and kind of shrink that in just to make sure it kind of stays within the borders of my piece, like so. And I may actually notice that since I painted this, you can kind of see if I hide my pixel, oops, if I hide my pixel here, you can see there's some kind of peek through ways here. You can see my brush strokes. So what I might do to fix that is to duplicate this with Control or Command J, 1 or 2 times, and then merge it down. Select them all, right click, convert to Smart Object, just so that it's not, like you can't see through it. And then, yeah, now that when I unhide this, it's actually really clean, and I can group all of this and turn that into a Smart Object too. And I have a little pixel art reef manta, which is fun. So I got my reef manta, I've got my, my clownfish, and then the next thing that I can do, I kind of want to arrange these a little bit smaller, just so that I have them. I've got about 3 minutes left, okay? We are steadily kind of creating our set of pixel art critters. And the last one I'm gonna do is the spotted ray, because, oh, and you know what? I might need to bring the spotted ray in again, because the spotted ray is actually, oh, I'll just delete that and redo this, because you remember at the beginning I changed the size of my my file, and anything that was not a smart object was actually kind of pixelated when I did that step, and this one is a smart object, so I have all of the detail here. So I'm going to grab my object selection tool again, just like I did at the beginning. I'm going to drag a little box around here, Control J or Command J to duplicate it, and I'm going to do the same thing here. I will duplicate my spotted ray. I am going to come up to Filter and Mosaic under the Pixelate. Boom, and I'm going to make these cells smaller, because if I make them smaller, I kind of have more pixels here. And I'm going to say, okay, now what you might run into is what I just ran into, and that is that, you know, I've pixelated this, but it kind of looks more blurry than anything I can really use. These images that I created out of my paintings are actually very straightforward, very distinctive, and this one is getting a little bit muddy. So how do we fix that? Well, you can actually, let's Control Z, and come back. We can do kind of editing with levels if we want to. So I'm going to right click this and convert it to a smart object, and I am going to Control or Command L to open up my levels. And you can mess with the levels. This right hand arm is going to be pumping up the highlights. This left hand arm is going to be pumping up the shadows, and this one here in the center is going to experiment with your midtones and just make it a little bit more dramatic. This might help us. So let's come in. I'm going to go ahead and rasterize it, just because that is what I want to do for mine. And I'm going to go to Filter, Pixelate, and Mosaic. And it kind of helps. It kind of gives us a little bit more, but maybe we can try to do some levels after this. So I want to keep this with as much detail as I can. Let's leave it at like a 15. And then let's Control or Command L again and see if we can crank that up with our levels. Yeah, I think it does. I think it adds a little bit more, just a little bit. I don't want to crank those dark colors down too much. Adds a little bit more detail, and then we can Control or right click, create clipping mask, and kind of clip to the shape of our spotted ray here, and then we have a little spotted ray. Now this one has a little more detail than the others, so I might choose a different picture in the future, but for now this works, and I've started to create myself a little set of stylized creatures. You don't have to do pixels, you can do any of the other filters, or come up with something new and show me what you found when you experimented, but create a set of cute little ocean creatures because we are going to use them. We are definitely going to use them. That is all I have for you today. I hope that you explored and learned some new things about maybe some filters that you've never tried before. I can't wait to see what you folks post in the Discord and what kind of animals you choose for your set for our later project. And yeah, until next time, folks, happy designing, and I will talk to you another time. Adios, everyone.